Okay, let's dive into the source material you've shared with us for this deep dive.
Sounds good.
We have, looks like notes or maybe a transcript here focusing on some advanced English vocabulary, C1 level stuff.
That's right. And think of this as us, well, really getting under the hood of that material.
Okay.
Our mission, basically, is to pull out the key insights on 5 specific words and phrases it covers.
Mm-hmm.
We want to go beyond just, the definition. We want to see how they actually work in conversation using the examples and the little role plays you provided.
Right, the practical side.
Exactly. And figure out why they're valuable additions to your communication toolkit. We want to make their usefulness really clear.
Love that mission. Okay, let's jump right in. First one on the list from your notes.
The first word is eloquent.
Eloquent. Okay. So the source defines it as expressing yourself clearly, smoothly, persuasively.
Yeah, clear, smooth, persuasive. It even uses that phrase, killer speech.
Right. That gives you fuel for the impact.
And the example sentence is pretty direct. His eloquent presentation won over the entire team. Straightforward.
But the role play, I think, adds more color.
Definitely. It's Emily and Jack talking about Mark's speech. And Jack says something like, the way Mark explained his vision was so eloquent.
And Emily jumps in, agreeing. Right. She says he had everyone hooked from the first sentence.
That bit, hooked from the first sentence, that's key.
Yeah.
It shows eloquent isn't just about being clear or using fancy words. It's about the whole package. The structure, the delivery, the rhythm.
The flow.
The flow, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what grabs people's attention and actually persuades them.
So it's the difference between just stating facts and actually making those facts compelling.
Precisely. So for you, listening, aiming for eloquence means thinking not just about what you say, but how you shape it.
Like using pauses, maybe? Varying your sentences?
Yes, choosing words carefully.
Yeah?
So your ideas, like the source says, flow beautifully and grab attention. It's about making your point stick, making it memorable.
Makes sense. More than just sounding correct. It's about sounding, well, effective.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears. Second item is a phrase. On the same page.
Ah, yes. A classic. The source defines it as everyone's in agreement or understands the same thing.
It also uses that analogy like you're all vibing together. I like that.
Yeah, it captures that feeling of shared understanding, doesn't it?
It does. The example sentence is pretty standard work stuff. Let's make sure we're all on the same page before starting the project.
It's very common. It's that proactive check.
Mm-hmm.
But the role play with Sarah and Mike about their campaign launch, that really shows why it's so useful.
Remind me, Mike asks about starting with social media.
Yeah, and Sarah confirms, exactly, that's the plan. And then she adds, good, we're on the same page.
Ah, right. So that little exchange, it shows how efficiently the phrase confirms they both understand the details the same way.
Exactly. Mike wasn't totally sure about step 1, and Sarah's confirmation plus we're on the same page just locks it in instantly.
It avoids that whole thing where people think they agree but find out later they had different ideas.
Right. It cuts through assumption. It's a verbal shortcut for confirming alignment that's stronger than just okay or got it. It specifically confirms a shared view.
So really useful in any kind of team effort, I guess. Work projects, planning with friends.
Absolutely. Anytime collaboration is involved, just pausing to check, hey, are we on the same page here? It can save a lot of trouble down the road. It ensures everyone's working from the same playbook.
Good point. Okay, next up, a word that feels a bit more direct. Candid.
Candid, yes.
Oh.
The source nails this. Being straight up honest, no filter, just telling it like it is.
No beating around the bush.
Exactly.
Transparency.
And the example. She gave a candid opinion about the new design. That suggests the opinion might have been maybe a bit tough.
Could be. Direct, certainly. And the role play between Lucas and Ava with Lucas's song, that really highlights the dynamic of being candid.
Right. Ava says something like, it's good, but the chorus needs work. That's it. Direct, specific feedback. Critical, maybe, but clear.
And Lucas's reaction is crucial. Ouch, but thanks for being candid.
Yeah, that ouch. It acknowledges that candid feedback can be hard to hear. It might sting, like the source says.
But he still appreciates it. Why?
Because it's honest. It's real feedback he can actually use, even if it's not just praise. It shows a certain level of trust, too. You trust the person to give you the truth, and they trust you to handle it.
So it's not just honesty, it's sort of unveiled honesty.
Well put. Think about needing genuine feedback, performance reviews, creative work, fixing problems. Being candid cuts through the fluff.
Even if it's uncomfortable for a moment.
Right. It gets to the heart of the matter. That authenticity is why it's often valued despite the potential ouch.
Interesting balance there. Okay, moving on. A phrase that explains, well, a lot of questionable decisions in the heat of the moment.
Huh, yes. According to your source material, this means doing something impulsive because emotions are just running really high.
Like being caught up in the feels, as it says, acting without thinking it through.
Exactly. The example's a classic. In the heat of the moment, he shouted something he later regretted.
Yeah, we can all picture that, I think.
Definitely. And the role play, Chloe and Ethan talking about why Ethan broke up with Jake, that really brings the emotion front and center.
What does Ethan say?
He says, ugh, I was so mad. It was in the heat of the moment.
I was so mad. That's the core of it, isn't it?
Absolutely. The phrase is often used to frame an action as a reaction to intense feeling, anger, excitement, fear, whatever, rather than a calculated choice.
It's like saying, my emotions took over my rational brain for a second.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the fact that they talk about cooling off before talking again, that reinforces the idea that these actions are often seen as temporary lapses, not necessarily reflecting someone's true feelings or usual behavior.
Right, it's an explanation, maybe even an excuse sometimes.
It can be. It describes that specific kind of impulsivity, driven by overwhelming feelings, leading to words or actions you might not choose otherwise. Acknowledging emotion's power over immediate action.
Very relatable. Okay, finally, the fifth item from your source. A word about problem solving. Mitigate.
Mitigate. It means to make something less intense or less harmful.
The source uses analogies like softening the blow or dialing down a problem.
Yeah, those are helpful. It's about reducing the negative impact of something bad.
The example sentence is clear. They took steps to mitigate the impact of the budget cuts, meaning they couldn't stop the cuts.
Right, but they tried to make the consequences less severe.
Okay. And the role play. Olivia and Noah with a storm hitting their event.
Yes, and Noah suggests we can mitigate the damage by moving it indoors.
That's a perfect illustration. The storm's happening, can't stop that.
Nope.
But moving indoors reduces its harmful effect on the event. You're lessening the severity.
Exactly. You're not eliminating the problem,
Yeah.
but you're taking action to lessen its negative consequences. It's damage control, risk reduction.
Seems like a word you'd hear a lot in planning or business or environmental discussions.
Definitely. Risk management, disaster planning, even personal finance.
Yeah.
Anytime you can't completely avoid a problem, you look for ways to mitigate the fallout. It's about strategically lessening the bad stuff.
Got it. Dealing with reality by making it, well, less bad.
You got it.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the 5 we've unpacked from your source. We had eloquent,
Persuasive communication,
on the same page.
confirming shared understanding,
Candid,
straight up honest feedback,
in the heat of the moment.
emotion-driven impulsive actions,
And mitigate.
reducing harm or intensity.
Right.
And by digging into the definitions, those examples, and especially the role plays from your notes, hopefully we've given you a deeper feel for how these actually work, beyond just knowing what they mean.
Yeah, understanding the context and the nuance.
Which should make it easier, more intuitive, to start using them yourself if you want to.
And as your source suggests, getting comfortable with these can definitely help make your communications sound more, quote, sharp and natural. Adds a layer of precision.
Definitely. Now, here's a final thought, kind of flipping the perspective. Instead of just thinking about you using these words,
Okay.
consider how often you might actually hear or read them. In articles, conversations, media, how does noticing these C1 level phrases, eloquent, mitigate, candid, and so on, change how you understand what's being said?
You mean noticing them changes how I interpret the message?
Maybe. Or how you perceive the speaker's intention, or the subtleties of the situation they're describing. Actively listening or reading for these markers of more sophisticated communication. It might just encourage you to process information a bit differently.